Hey, well, thanks for checking us out today. We are in week 30 of Core 52. We've been going through this through the entire year of 2020. And joining me today is Mark Williams. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk leadership, because that's what we're talking about this week. So.
Sounds good. Well, thanks, Ryan. Well, like you said, I'm Mark Williams. I'm on the council. Me and my family have been coming to Aldersgate for the past 5 years, and looking forward to coming back and meeting as a community.
Man, no kidding.
Yeah.
So this tape will actually show a few weeks after we're recording. Who knows where we'll be by then, because every day changes. So Mark, tell us, where in life do you see yourself as a leader? Like, I'm sure there are lots of different places. So where in your life do you see yourself as a leader?
Well, I've been blessed throughout my life and given opportunities to be a leader. And it really starts at home and with my wife and my kids. And as I watch my son grow up, I see more and more how much he watches me and emulates me, and the actions that I do. It's like they always say, watch what you say in front of your kids, because they're going to repeat it at probably the worst time possible.
They know exactly when to repeat it and how to use it.
I've got some funny stories on that too, and I'm glad he said that he learned those words from mom. That made me feel better there. But at home is really where that starts, and then just through my career, I've been given, like I said, opportunities to lead people and to step into those roles to help improve, whether it's the business or something in their life or the department or whatever it is, to help just keep improving people and what they do in their daily life.
Yeah, that's so good. So I'm really glad you started with home, because I think so many times, especially having this conversation with men, we just jump right into whatever it is we do for a living. I think it's so important to realize the leadership that you have at home with your wife and with your kids. And but then beyond that, certainly with your business and work, you're one of those people that has the C in front of their title at work. And so, but I think it's important that we point out, and you would probably agree with this, that title does not necessarily equate leadership. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. There have been times in my life where I see people who are in either as an owner of a business or whatever it might be, and you look at that and you go, that is not what I want to be in life. They might have success, they might have a lot of money and things, but it doesn't equal leadership. And those that are following them are doing so out of, maybe it's fear, or they don't want to lose their job, but it's not following them as Jesus tells us to follow, with someone who's going to lead you to greater things to help you achieve.
That's so good, and that's what the essay in Core 52 this week does, is talk about that example of Jesus as a leader. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of Jesus' model for us as a leader?
Oh, there's so many, and I love reading back to the stories on the disciples and how it almost seems like they were clueless through most of the walk with Jesus over the 3+ years, and culminating to him on the cross. And I think they're still going, This isn't what's supposed to happen. In human society, our leader doesn't die on a cross to sacrifice himself. He was supposed to rule over everything and come in with a sword and take over.
Yeah, I think the model that we get from Jesus is this model of servant leadership, and that's why a title doesn't do it. Because if we're not serving, we're not really leading. And the author of Core 52 even uses the example of Jesus' last act, well, other than dying on the cross, his last act of leadership was washing the disciples' feet. And being that servant leader, and realizing that it's about serving others. And so I think it's so good what you said in terms of someone can think they're a leader through position or title or coercion or whatever it may be. Any other thoughts on that? Even like at home, what would you say to that?
I was talking to a friend one time, and we're talking about our marriages and different things like that. And he said, Mark, I realized through time that I expected my wife to jump over this. Like, if you meet this expectation, I'm going to love you more, or I'm going to do this for you. And he kept raising the bar. But then it was revealed to him, no, Jesus and God doesn't expect us to do that. He doesn't set a bar for us to jump over, for us to be loved more by him. He just wants us to do our best, and he serves us, and we're in turn supposed to serve each other. And it's not about expectations. And I think once you take expectations out, They're good in a way, and I think in a business setting, you have to have expectations so people know goals, but you don't expect them to meet those based on you're going to necessarily get something in return.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And so, yeah, we have expectations. Like for our kids, we have expectations, but as a leader, our job is to help them get to those expectations by the way we serve them,
Right.
by the way we influence them to get to those, not with an iron fist, so
That's
to
exactly
say.
right.
Yeah, so good. That attitude right there, Mark, is why you didn't mention this earlier, but one of the places you lead is you were the chair of the church council here at the church. And so that example right there and that model is why you're in that role. And we very, very much appreciate your leadership in that regard and your example and your model in that regard.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts you would have for us as we talk about leadership today?
It's one of those things that you constantly have to work at it. You see great leaders in time and you go, oh, it looks like it came so easy for them. But it's not. It's a constant work and a constant thought of, and everyone's different too.
Yeah.
Like the way I lead, Suzette is going to be different than the way I lead someone at the office.
Yeah.
It's based on what their personalities are and then what's going to be the end result.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I know you, so I know that you have done certain things to grow in your leadership. So you just talked about talking to a buddy and the bar thing. And so iron sharpens iron, so growing in your leadership that way. I know that you've also been part of groups and cohorts that have helped you grow in your leadership, especially in the corporate world. And I think that's a good note, is that we can always grow in our leadership, and we can always take steps to become a better leader, and should be doing that. But I think, and would you agree, that it always starts with just asking the question, where can I serve someone today? And what can I do for someone today?
And sometimes it's the smallest things. We think it's always has to be this big, grand serving out there in the open or whatever it might be. But it could be the smallest things that have the biggest impact on people's lives. Again, so blessed with being able to do some of those small things and then being able to see it in return. That's not always the case. We're not promised that we're going to see the fruits of the things that we put out there. But those times that you do and you're like, oh, that is so awesome.
That's good. So just curious, as you tend to climb the corporate ladder, do you think it becomes more difficult to do the small things?
Yes, absolutely it is. And so Bob Goff, he's one of my favorite authors. Listening to his new book right now, Dream Big, and he talks about, being available and doing those small things and finding the time to do those things, and how important it is that we don't get caught up in the busyness of the world. We all get, we're so busy, we don't have time to answer the phone or take that moment to help someone else. But he said those are the impacts that are going to be lifelong.
Such a good word. We'll end there because that's so good. So I would just encourage you, find someone today that you can do some small thing for, and realize in doing that you are leading just like Jesus led. So Mark, thanks for joining us this week for this part of Core 52. And until next week, we'll catch you then.